Okay, welcome to this video on averages and range. So in the previous video we had a look at the fact that there's three different averages that we can use to represent a list of numbers, and the idea of an average is it takes one number to represent all the values in the list. Say it's having to communicate all of the values, we just pick one number to say overall this is the number that explains or represents them. And there's three different ways we can do that: mean, median and mode. I've reminded you of what they are on the screen. And the range is a different thing. The range helps us to think about how big a gap there is between the highest and the lowest value. How spread out are the numbers? What we're going to do with this lesson is throw in a few problem solving questions. In other words, maybe working back is another way in which we can call it. So have a look at these questions. I'm going to go through them and then I'm going to give you some to try yourself. So this time I'm giving you the answer, effectively giving you an average, and you're trying to work out a possible answer or possible list that works. Now in most of these questions there are lots of correct answers, lots of possible solutions, and that's a good thing to get your head around first of all. So look at question 1. Write down 6 numbers which have a mode of 7. So we know that the mode is the most common. One way you could start doing that is by putting a little line and saying, okay, there needs to be 6 numbers. So I'm going to basically do 6 lines, maybe put a wee comma in between to represent the fact that there's 6 numbers. Now the mode has got to be 7, so all that means is that our list has to have more 7s than anything else. Any other number is really up to you. That's why I said there's lots of possible solutions sometimes. So for instance, I'm going to start with a 3 here, and I'm going to put a 4, and only one of each, and then I'm going to put a 7 and a 7. Now I could put more 7s, or I could, now that I put 2 7s, as long as I put some other numbers, and I put them in numerical order just because it's kind of a habit. So if I did that, for instance, then that would be an answer. Write down 6 numbers with a mode of 7. You can see that the most common number in that list is 7, so that's correct. Okay. The next one says write down 5 numbers, a list of 5 numbers that has a median of 12. Okay, a median means a middle number. So if I were to say, here's my 5 numbers, we comma between them, and that median tells me the middle number's got to be 12. So we know that whether it's an odd number of numbers, 12's got to be in the middle. So I'm going to write 12 there. And again, as long as, now this definitely has to be in numerical order. So the 2 numbers to the left have to be less than 12 or 12, and the numbers above have to be 12 or more. Okay, so I'm going to pick some random numbers. I'll put a 5 and a 7. I'm going to put another 12 just because I can. It doesn't have to be more. And I'll make this 30. It doesn't have to be a small number. As long as it's bigger than 12, then that's fine. So I've got 5 numbers, and in this list the median is 12, so that's correct. Number 3, write down 8 numbers with a median of 10. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers. Now the fact that the median is 10 means that the middle number has to be 10. Now we know that if there's an even number, the median is going to be here, right in between. So 10 is the middle number. Suggests that 10 doesn't need to be any of the numbers in the list. Okay, I could put 10 and 10 on either side, but you know that it has to be, as long as it's equal, as long as 10's in the middle of them. So I'm going to put 9 here, and I'm going to put 11 here, and I can be confident that in between, halfway between 9 and 11 is 10. From there, everything else, as long as they're smaller than 9, I could put 1, 4 and 8. And then above here is bigger than 11 or 11 itself. So I'll do 12, 12 and 19. And there's me got 8 numbers. Notice that 10 is not one of the numbers, but I wrote in 10 just to make sure that it was my median. And the last one, write down 4 numbers with a mean of 5. That's an interesting one. So we've got 4 numbers. Now what we can do here is it's a wee bit hard because there's a bit of a calculation required. It's not just about picking them at random. We've got 4 numbers with a mean of 5. That means that if they were shared out equally, we'd have 5, 5, and 5 all the way along. And if we add those two all together, we know that we would get 20. So what we've got to do is to make sure that when we write down 4 numbers here, they all add up to 20. That's all you need to do. Again, it doesn't have to be in numerical order. So I'm just going to literally pick some numbers at random. I'm going to pick 7 and I'm going to pick 11. What does that give me? That gives me 18 already. So I could put 1 and 1. Okay, there we go. And as long as you don't go over 20 or you're not under 20, then those 4 numbers will have a mean of 5, because 7 add 11 is 18, plus 1 is 19, plus 1 is 20, and 20 shared out between 4 numbers is 5. So there we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another 4 questions like this. I'm going to get you to pause the video. I want you to have a go at trying to do them yourself. You might have different answers to me, of course, because you're picking some numbers a bit at random. So pause the video, have a go at these 4, and then I'll go through them quickly with the answers. Okay, so 5 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with a mode of 11. As long as the 11 is the most common number, it doesn't matter. I'll put 3 11s here, I'll put 17, and I'll put 3. Okay, so as long as you've got something like that, that's great. Number 6, 7 numbers with a median of 23. We've got an odd number of numbers, so that means that 23 is going to be slap bang in the middle. And as long as your other 3 numbers are less or equal to 23 and higher or equal to 23 on either side, then that's fine. So I'll put 11, 14, 20, 24, 27, and 50. So that's fine as long as 23 is on the middle number. And with this other one, this is an in-between one. So 6 numbers with a median of 14. So there's the median there, 14's in between. So I'm going to go with 10, which is 4 below 14, and therefore I'd have to do 4 above 14, which is 18, as my 2 numbers there. And as long as they're less than 10 and bigger than or equal to 18, then I've got my correct list, a median of 14. And 4 numbers with a mean of 9. So 4 numbers with a mean of 9 means that 9 and 9 and 9, if they're all equally shared, they would have 9 each. 4 9s are 36. As long as my total is 36, then I'm doing all right. So I'll pick 10 and I'll pick 12. So that's 22. I'll pick 7. That's 29, and another 7 is 36. And that's my 4. I know that my 4 numbers are going to have a mean of 9 because they all add up to 36. Okay? So, hope those are okay. I've got another couple of questions to throw in. Have a look at this one. 3 friends can run a mile in a mean time of 8 minutes. A 4th friend can run a mile in 6 minutes. What's the mean time for all 4 friends to run a mile? So, the average of 3 is 8 minutes. If we included the 4th, what would happen to that mean time of 8? Well, because the 4th one is 6, it means the average overall is going to go down, which is fine. So what we can think of is that we had 3 numbers, and the mean was 8. We don't know what they were. Now, it doesn't mean that they all were 8. It just means on average they were 8, which means that 8 and 8 and 8 is 24. So the 3 friends, when you add up all their, assume they're all whole number in minutes just for ease, it means that all of their numbers add up to 24. And we don't know what they were, and we don't really need to know what they all individually were. What we do need to know is that if we were to think of the 4 numbers, of which the last one is 6, what we do know is that 24 is the sum of all of those 3. Okay, so we don't need to know them individually, but we do know that 3 add up to 24. The 4th one is another 6, which means that in total it takes them 30 minutes to run the mile between them. Okay, so we can say that the mean is therefore the total, which is 30, divided by 4. which is 7.5 minutes. Don't know why it's jumping down like that. There we go. So that's how we would solve a problem like that. And the last one, maybe you want to pause it, have a read and see if you can answer it yourself. So this is just a find some numbers that will fit, just like we did at the beginning. We're looking for 8 numbers effectively, but this time we've got an information about the average and the range. So if we want 8 numbers, we could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers. The median was 12. The average was 12. So the median, because it's 8 numbers, 12 is going to be in here. It might not be one of the numbers, or it could be. So because I changed them about before, I'm actually going to put 12 and 12 as my 2 numbers. Sometimes it is a repeated number in the middle. You could have 11 and 13, or 10 and 14, or 9 and 15. But 12 and 12 works fine. Now, the other thing is the range is £30. We've got to keep that in mind. It means that the biggest number and the smallest number have to be 30 apart. So let's think about that. My bottom half of the numbers have to be less than or equal to 12. So I'm going to put 10. Because it's kind of money, I'm going to think about multiples of 10 here. I'm hoping somebody's got a couple of pounds on them. Okay. Now, the fact the range is £30 means that the gap between the smallest and the largest has to be 30, which means the largest amount had to be £32, which means that if I'm going to say a couple of people had £20 on them, and that's fine. These are all effective, they're all pound signs. Okay, and we've generated a list of possible amounts of money everybody had. You might have created something different. How many different answers can you generate? Well, a whole pile. As long as your 2 numbers here in the middle are on either side of 12, and as long as the gap between the highest and the lowest is 30, you can create a whole lot. Okay, I'll put another one down. So we could say that 10 and 14 pounds were in the middle, and I'm going to say that say £5. Maybe we had another fiver and somebody's got £6, which means the highest value would have to be 35, and as long as I put somewhere in between, then there's another possible solution. Okay, so I hope that's been helpful. I'll get you to practice some more like that, but that's how we might problem solve. And it's good to try these because it helps us to increase our understanding of what each of the different averages is like, and how it relates to the numbers in a list. Okay, so thanks for listening. I hope that helps.